Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up with y'all out there? Week 4 is in the books. Week 5 is about to commence. We got all kinds of action, not just on the field, but also off the field as far as the COVID thing is concerned. But I'm ready to talk some football, so let's go.
Let's get this going. So Ben, week 4 is in the books now. Did pretty well last week with the Bias Plus reports. I even got one of the games that Vegas missed on. Remember last week there was only 2 games that Vegas and the Bias Plus reports were not in agreement on.
And you won, and the Bias Plus won one of those games.
Yeah, that was interesting. We were like in the 90-some percentile last week. I wrote it down somewhere. I'll look at it, but did pretty well. How about you?
Well, this past week, I in fact did extremely well. Again, I have to ask you to check my math, but I think I had a 73% winning percentage, going 11 for 15.
11 for 15.
Well,
okay.
Actually, 4 or 5. Yeah, 11 for 15. We had one game postponed.
Yeah. Lots of crazy stuff going on, excuse me, relative to COVID-19 testing. We have at least one game that's in doubt right now. So we'll go for that. But just doing some quick math here. Let's see what you got. That was 11 for 15.
Yes, sir.
73%. Pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good.
Yes, sir.
You can win 7 out of 10 times on a consistent basis. That ain't bad.
I'm on my way, bro.
I think once I averaged it out a little bit, it kind of came to somewhere in that same vicinity year to date for the Bias Plus reports, which for those who are not familiar with the Bias Plus reports represent the matchups that we set up for the upcoming week. You'll get a chance to see that. But right now, Mr. Dickerson, tell us what happened last week.
Okay, let's talk about last week. So, first game, we had the Broncos at the Jets. Now, that one was a loss for me. It was a win for the Bias. The Broncos were able to win the game 38-37. It was an entertaining game, although it was, I think the word is rife with mistakes and bad play. I'll tell you the truth. Neither of these teams really impressed me. Probably the Broncos impressed me a little bit more, but they were going into New York with a rookie quarterback, Brett Rippon, who happens to be the nephew of Mark Rippon, who was a Super Bowl MVP for the Washington team. But anyway, he went 19-32, 242 yards, kind of quiet. He did throw 2 touchdown passes, but he threw 3 interceptions, and one of them was a pick 6. So it's a pretty ugly game for him. Somehow they pulled it out. Sam Darnold, 230 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran 6 times, so he did run 1 touchdown, and he ran for 84 yards. Most of them, I'm sure, were under duress. Just an ugly game, pretty much. But somehow it kept my interest. That was kind of weird. But, you know, I think I was looking for one thing after the other to go wrong, and they surely did. Colts go to Chicago to play the Bears. That's a win for me, and also a win for the Bias. Score was 19-11. Phillip Rivers, Mr. Game Manager, Phillip Rivers was 16-29, a mere 129 yards. He did throw 1 touchdown pass. He's game managed the Colts to a 3-1 record, however. So also he has a game high 78.3% completion percentage. I think I said game high. I should have said league high. 78.3% completion percentage, which is really good for his team, but it's horrible for fantasy because he's not producing any fantasy points. Nick Foles, on the other hand, and I think we spoke of Nick Foles last week, a little bit of positive and a little bit of negative stuff on Nick Foles, but I'm mostly the negative guy. He goes 26 of 42, 249 yards, threw one touchdown, he threw one interception, but for the most part, he was extremely inaccurate. The Colts defense is really good. They got a good set of D-backs. They run a nice zone scheme that's hard to dissect. And, of course, the Jets' running game is pretty much null and void. So that wasn't much of a game either, I'll tell you the truth. But the Colts did come through. Watch the Colts. If you need a defense in fantasy, the Colts defense will serve you well. The Saints go to Detroit to play the Lions. I got a win. The bias also got a win with that one, too. It was 35-29. And this sounds like a real high-flying game, but it really wasn't. Breeze was 19-25, 246 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, and he did have an interception. Now, the crazy thing about this game was the Lions were up 14-0. I think they scored on their opening drive. Then Breeze came out, had a tip pass, go for an interception, and the Lions were able to score again. So it was kind of crazy. But then right after that, Breeze and the Saints ran off 35 straight points. So, so much for the Lions. Yeah, it was crazy like that. But Breeze looked good. He was pretty efficient. He completed passes all over the field. Traquan Smith had a big day with 2 touchdowns. He's been basically the de facto number 1 receiver since Mike Thomas is hurt or has been hurt. However, Mike Thomas has a good chance to come back again this week. Alvin Kamara also. This guy's just continuing to have a really great season. He may only be I would have to think about this a little bit more because I'm kind of saying this off the top of my head, but I was thinking about MVP performances. I would say the front runners are all quarterbacks. Maybe the top 3-4 guys are quarterbacks. But he might fit in there. He ran the ball 19 times for 83 yards. He ran for a score. He only caught 3 balls, which is rare for him. Usually he's around the 5 or 7 target area. He got 36 yards out of that, but they pretty much controlled the game on the ground. So good job by the Saints. Moving on. Let me just say about Matt Stafford. Really, really rough week for him. The Saints defense is kind of crazy. They're up and down, but in this game, both cornerbacks were missing. Both starters, Lattimore and Jackrabbit, were both out with injury. You would think that a passer like Stafford would been able to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, he was not. Okay, moving on. The Arizona Cardinals go to Carolina to play the Panthers. Wow. Okay. Bias picked the Cardinals, as well they should have. The Panthers have been pretty quiet this season. I, however, picked the Panthers, and guess what? They won. Teddy Bridgewater had a breakout game, 26 of 37, 276 yards, 2 touchdown passes, ran 6 times for an additional 32 yards, and also had a rushing touchdown. So that's a great day for Teddy Bridgewater. Real proud of him. I'm happy for him. I believed that he would do well when he got to Carolina, and thus far, well, things are beginning to pick up for him. It looked real accurate, too, especially in his short and intermediate game. Also, since McCaffrey's been out, he hasn't been missed that much as far as the ground game is concerned. Mike Davis has taken over. He had a real solid game, 16 carries, 84 yards and a touchdown, and he had 5 catches for 27 yards. So he may not be as fast and flashy as McCaffrey, but he is getting the job done. He does give them a good ground game, which helps Bridgewater quite a bit.
No doubt.
Okay. Yeah, right. Oh, by the way, I drafted DJ Moore in fantasy really high as the number 1 receiver for the Panthers, anticipating that him and Bridgewater would get along really well. But the number 1 receiver in Carolina is Robbie Anderson, a guy that came over to them from the Jets, and evidently, and this is another mark on your boy Adam Gase, Adam Big Eyes Gase, who thought that Robbie Anderson was simply a long ball threat. This guy's been catching the ball all over the field. He had 8 catches for 99 yards on Sunday. So he is basically, and production-wise, the number 1 receiver in Carolina.
He was highlighted on the NFL channel. One of the ladies on one of the shows, I think it was one of the ladies. In any event, they actually did talk about him and a little bit about his journey,
Yeah,
and how well he's doing now. So that's a great story. If you get a chance to check that out on television, and that was really interesting.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so now another win for me, and also the bias, was the Jaguars at the Bengals. I've told everyone I'm impressed with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was able to get his first win. They won the game 33-25. It was his first victory and the Bengals' first victory so far this season. 25 of 36, 300 yards. He did throw an interception, but he also threw a touchdown pass. So nice, solid game for the number 1 overall rookie taking this year's draft. Again, I'm still really impressed with him. Joe Mixon finally had himself quite a day for his team and for fantasy. He scored all 3 of the Bengals touchdowns. He had one was on a pass. It was just a little check down that he made a fabulous run on. And he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Both of them were over 20-yard runs. So he had one heck of a day, especially fantasy-wise. Hope you had him out there. Gardner Minshew, on the other hand, had a great statistical day. So if you had him in fantasy, you're okay. But wasn't able to do enough to get the win. He did throw 3 touchdown passes. He did throw 1 interception, but he was under constant pressure. He got sacked 3 times. Everything was a struggle, and they just couldn't find the end zone when they needed to. So I don't know. The Jaguars, again, they're one of those up and down teams. Sometimes they look good and they lose. Sometimes they look bad and they lose. But yeah, I would never bet any money on the Jaguars, I'll tell you that. The Cleveland Browns went to beautiful AT&T Stadium to see the Cowboys. I picked the Cowboys. The bias picked the Browns. That was a loss for me and a win for the bias. Now I'm going to tell you the truth. And I told you last week, this home field advantage thing is not really working for me. So I'm not factoring that in when I make my picks. But the way Dak's been throwing the ball, I mean, signing that franchise tag was the smartest thing he ever did, because there's a bunch of teams out there that have way better defenses than Dallas does. And if they could get their hands on Dak, they have seen what he has been able to do. A lot of it's been in losing efforts, but this guy is lighting up scoreboards at a rapid pace. Unfortunately, the rapid pace doesn't begin until they fall behind by 2 touchdowns or so. So that's their problem there. But anyway, let's talk about a little old Baker Mayfield. Oh, by the way, the Browns won the game 49-38. Again, very exciting game, mostly made exciting not just by Dak's comeback efforts, but also the Browns with all the reverses and the double reverse passes and all that stuff. Man, Kevin Stefanski is really opening up the playbook. The crazy thing is they're not pass happy. Now, I'm not going to say it's a crazy thing. It's actually a good thing because they play so well on the ground. So anyway, Baker Mayfield got the win, having only thrown or completed 19 of 30 passes for only 165 yards. He did throw 2 touchdown passes. Meanwhile, the Browns' ground game just tore the Cowboys to shreds. 307 yards total just on the ground alone. That's a really great day. Story of the day, though, was Odell Beckham. He caught 5 passes for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had a game-clinching 50-yard TD run on an end around. People have been waiting for Beckham to show up. Um, Most folks are saying, hey, don't believe the hype. He ain't that good. Well, he showed what he can do in this one. And it pretty much, that last touchdown run put the Cowboys to bed. And real quick, just on Dak's come from behind efforts, 41 of 58 passes, 502 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And they lost. There's nothing good to talk about in Dallas except Dak Prescott. Even Zeke, they're not even giving Zeke the ball. Zeke only had 12 carries. Now, granted, they were in comeback mode for most of the game, but still, we're talking about Zeke Elliott here. That guy, if he's not a major part of your offense, you're not going to win. He had a bad fumble too, I think. He didn't score any touchdowns. Not a good day for Zeke. Moving on.
Wait, before you move on.
Yes.
I just want to say, number one, that relative to Vegas, that was one of the games that I got right and Vegas got wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And actually,
thinking like I was thinking.
Actually, it was both of the games from Vegas I got right and Vegas got wrong. Now, they got a couple right that I didn't get later on.
Right.
So I wasn't 100%. But of those two initially that disagreed, and it was funny that touchdown run by Odell, had the Dallas defender been able to get his hands on him and trip him up, he was so deep in the backfield rather, that game could have turned on that play. But Odell, being the athlete that he is and being as aggressive as he was on that run, he wasn't giving it up. He wasn't running out of bounds. He wasn't doing none of that. He was going for the goal and got some good blocking downfield and some very inept positioning of defenders trying to, catch him. I saw at least 4 defenders just trip past him as he cut back on the inside. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that Dallas defense. And it's actually making Dak look bad because it's giving him a poor win-loss record where all of his statistics, like you said, are astronomical. The Dallas Cowboys total yards are first in the league at 509 yards per game. So it's going to be interesting to see how he emerges from this franchise tag to negotiate his next contract when he has probably all of the best individual statistics and probably one of the worst team statistics relative to win-losses. That's going to be an interesting negotiation.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Dallas won't even be able to hold over his head that, well, yeah, you had a lot of great stats, but you didn't take us to victory, and you're supposed to be a great quarterback, and great quarterbacks take their teams to victory. They can't even say that because their defense is that bad. You know what I mean? They're that bad. He's coming from behind every week. You could say they're getting off to slow starts, but the bottom line is his numbers, like you said, are astronomical, and they're not going to beat anybody if they can't keep teams out of the end zone, and they just can't seem to do it. So
don't go too fast past that slow start thing, because I'm seeing some fingers being pointed back at the coaches.
Yes.
Play calling in the early parts of the quarters and things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see because, they're not jumping out to big leads and leads. And then if they did, you'd have Zeke, be able to be, more prominent in the game plan. But if they're dropping behind 2-3 touchdowns real quick, and part of that is early fumbles, early miscues, early inefficiencies, but they do seem to pull it together. And it's always tough on the defense when you get a big lead because now it's like, how aggressive do you want to be?
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we are up to
Texans-Vikings.
Vikings at the Texans. Vikings win the game 31-23. Win for myself and also for the bias. Your favorite whipping boy, Kirk Cousins, had an easy day, 16 to 22 for 260, and he threw one touchdown pass. Player of the game, no doubt about it, Dalvin Cook. He ran roughshod over the Texans' horrible run defense. Some folks, I think Pro Football Focus kind of has their pass defense rated middle of the road to a little above average. But their run defense, dude, you and me could suit up and run through that. I'm telling you. So Dalvin Cook had 130 yards on 28 carries, and he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. Again, Texas defense, not worth even talking about.
Texans are actually last in rushing defense in the league, giving up 181 yards, almost 182 per game. The Steelers are first, for reference sake, with 54 yards per game.
Right. Big disparity.
So how do you get fired as the head coach of the Texans? Lose to Kirk Cousins and give up a ton of yards on a run when you got J.J. Watt.
Well, they had to. First of all, I'm sure they were last in rushing defense before that game started. So it was no doubt that Cook was going to have a good game. You know, I mean, that's just, they're bad. That's all. And it's funny. We had the conversation about head coaches that are also general managers. And the consensus is that general manager Bill O'Brien got head coach Bill O'Brien fired. So
so I think there was somewhat of a symbiotic relationship there because we're talking about play calling, we're talking about defensive schemes, things of that nature. I mean, let me see, 2-1-0. They're 29th in pass defense on a yardage basis. So right. The run defense was bad, pass defense was bad, and you traded away Nuke, who now is just looking great in the Cardinals' offense with a second-year quarterback. So, yeah, I think that was somewhat of a symbiotic relationship. You know, it's funny. It's like, you ever see those people who work for rental like apartment buildings, and they live in the apartment and they are the apartment like maintenance person,
and they do everything, yeah.
And then when they lose their job, they lose their home, and it's kind of like my man, the GM out, coach out, completely out. Next up, and we have an old vet coming in as the interim head coach with
Romeo Crennel, yes.
Yeah.
He's got a couple Super Bowl rings.
Yeah. But he was on the staff that was there when they was stinking it up. So we'll have to see what kind of change or difference he makes. All right. Next up.
Okay, we got the Seahawks going to Miami to play the Dolphins. Another win for me. I agreed with the bias. The Seahawks won the game 31-23. Now, let's talk about my MVP frontrunner, okay? Russell Wilson, 24 for 34, 2 touchdown passes. He did throw 1 interception. This was a kind of quiet day for him. In fact, I think this is the first time he was held under 4 touchdown passes. So we had to go 4 weeks before he only threw 2 touchdown passes. First time this season. As far as his passing game is concerned, Tyler Lockett was pretty quiet. He's had one of his best seasons so far. But DK Metcalf caught 4 passes for 106 yards. He's big. He's fast. He runs. He breaks tackles. Unfortunately, he didn't break the last tackle. Guy pulled him down at the 3-yard line or something where he would have had a touchdown also. And let's talk about Chris Carson. And the reason I'm mentioning all these offensive players for the Seahawks is they have the most explosive offense in the league right now. There's some that are kind of close. There's some that are explosive sometimes or most of the time. But the Seahawks are explosive all the time. First of all, Chris Carson played through a knee injury. He had a little sprained MCL, I think, for the week before. And he had a little concussion scare. He got tackled and got a helmet-to-helmet hit, but he was able to come back. 80 yards on the ground, 16 carries, and he scored 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Seahawks are going to be tough to deal with, and I love them. I love them right now.
Let me say this much. I kind of want every time you say the name DK Metcalf to take a moment of silence.
Oh, quit crying.
Oh my God. He should
Quit
be a
crying.
Niner. He should be a Niner. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He should be he should be a Niner, and CD Lamb should be an Eagle, and
Nah, don't
Chase
throw
Young
that
should be a
name in there with me,
Giant.
buddy. I don't
Oh,
even
it's
try
the
that.
same circumstance, man.
Let
You're
me say
right.
this much though,
Same circumstance.
in support of what you said about Russell, because they're like 17th somewhere down there in rushing yardage on the game basis. But on a passing basis, they are third in the league behind Dallas and your favorite team, Buffalo.
Right?
So on a passing basis, and so that puts them at third also on the total yardage basis behind the Cowboys and the Packers. We'll talk about those guys. So just wanted to throw that in there. Next up.
Okay, next up, Chargers come all the way from the West Coast to play Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I picked the Bucs. The bias picked the Bucs, and the Bucs won 38-31. Okay. Great game for Tom Brady. It's been a little while since we said those words. 30 of 46, 369 yards, and 5 touchdown passes. 5 touchdown passes. He did throw 1 interception. The interception turned out to be a pick 6 also. But other than that, he was awesome. And he threw the 5 touchdowns to 5 different players. And they're missing a bunch of starters. Mike Evans is playing hurt. Godwin's out. Scotty Miller's banged up. O.J. Howard blew out his Achilles during the game. Gronk's not quite himself. Yeah, it's kind of a mess there. But Tom Brady is the master of doing more with less. He always has been. Seems he's going to continue to be. Okay? Now, besides Joe Burrow as a rookie quarterback, I am also most impressed with Justin Herbert. Although they lost the game, he continues to impress me. He was 20 of 25, very efficient, 290 yards, got the ball downfield a little bit, and he threw 3 touchdown passes. And also he had 1 interception. But 3 TD passes, 290 on 20 of 25, that's pretty good for a rookie. In fact, there was some talk of bringing Tyrod Taylor back and giving him back his starting position. That's ludicrous. They better not. That makes me angry.
Mike Tyson would say, that's ludicrous.
That's ludicrous. Exactly. So,
hey, but maybe we should do a moment of silence for Tyrod Taylor. He can't catch a break.
Poor guy. Well, if his lawyers are smart, he'll catch a nice big break.
Oh, that's a whole nother scenario. Yeah.
Puncturing your lung.
Bro. I don't know if they have to sign anything, when they allow these guys to provide medical attention from the team or not. But yeah, that would be somewhat. But if you think about just, coming from Buffalo, and then you had Josh coming in as quarterback, so now he's no longer needed there. Was it the Chargers that he went to next? When he left Buffalo, where did he go?
Yeah, to the Chargers.
To the Chargers.
Yes.
Right. So but he was there when Rivers was still there. Right? So he was on the bench.
Yes. He was already there. Rivers, he was backing up Rivers. When Rivers went over to the Colts, then he became the interim number 1 because they knew they were going to pick a quarterback high. And when you pick a quarterback high, it's only a matter of time usually when you're basically a placeholder. So, that's what happened to him.
All right.
Let's see, where are we? The Battle of the Beltway. Okay. Ravens play the Washington football team. The Bias and I both got the win on this one, 31-17. Not much to talk about in this game. It was a pretty easy win for the Ravens. Lamar did have a better game. Better game. He could have played anybody and had a better game than he had against Kansas City. But anyway, he was 14 for 21, 193, no big deal. He did throw 2 touchdown passes. He had an interception, but a lot of his throws were really good throws. And instead of running a lot, he was mostly scrambling and showing his escapability and throwing passes on a run, and showed some renewed accuracy. So that was a good thing for Lamar fans.
Hitting them tight ends.
Yeah, he did score a touchdown on a run. It was a 50-yard run. So he says, I'm not going to run a lot today. Scrambles around, throws a bunch of passes. Okay, everybody knows I can throw again. Now, don't forget, I can take off. Boom, 50-yard touchdown. Gotta love Lamar. Gotta love him.
I'm surprised they didn't do one of those things where they check the miles per hour, because once he decided to run, he was out.
Yeah, they don't always do that. I don't know that every station has that little gauge.
Okay.
But you could probably find it somewhere if you looked for it. It's probably recorded somewhere. All right. LA Rams come.
Oh, and don't forget, starting quarterback for the Washington team.
Oh, wait. I'm glad you said that, man, because I that slipped my mind. And that may have come up, later on in our conversation when we get done with this. I never liked Dwayne Haskins. I never thought Dwayne Haskins was going to be a successful NFL quarterback. I didn't necessarily really grind him up and say, oh, this guy stinks, he's horrible. I just don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, and neither does Ron Rivera. Not only did they take him out of the number 1 spot, I read that they put him on the practice squad. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Are you serious?
That's what I read. You can Google it up real quick or something if you want to. I don't know. Rumor has it he has been relegated to the practice squad. I've never heard of any such thing. They didn't put Tyrod Taylor on the practice squad. he can't even play. Or he may be able to play this week, but I'm just saying, he's physically unable. Dwayne Haskins has done so little that they have taken away his starting spot. Boom. And if he's on the practice squad, I think that's really adding insult to injury. I don't like the guy as a ball player, but that's pretty rough. I would have to hear. I'm going to look for a Ron Rivera interview or post-game comments from Ron Rivera and see just how disgruntled he is with this guy. That's a bad demotion, bro. That's bad.
I'm not seeing anything in a quick search that says practice squad. They are all talking about him being benched.
I don't know. Maybe
we shall see. But with Alex Smith sitting right there as a backup, that might be one way that they hold on to him for whatever value, is to put him on the practice squad. I think you can still protect your practice squad people. Nobody can come just snatch them up. Am I correct about that?
Right. Yeah, I think you have to kind of put them on waivers, or they have to pay. In other words, you can release them, quote unquote, and then they immediately go on waivers. And then if another team wants to pick them up, they can. And if they pass through and nobody makes them an offer, then you just bring them back like nothing ever happened. But anyway, the LA Rams came into the Meadowlands to play my Giants. My Giants are really bad right now, gang. You're not going to hear me say anything good about the Giants because there is nothing good to say about the Giants. I will say this. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. They are playing inspired defense. It's not really good defense, but it's very inspired defense. I see sparks of promise on their defense. And in fact, without knowing, I will ask you, are they rated higher than the Dallas Cowboys in any defensive stats that you may have at your fingertips?
Well, in total yards per game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth in the league defensively.
Who? The Giants?
Yeah,
Okay. In total yards.
in total yards.
That's good, ain't it?
The Cowboys
Darn good.
are 2, 1, 30th.
Exactly. This is why I tell people, be careful when you're talking to me and start saying this guy stinks, that guy's horrible, this team is a bunch of bums, or this team's good, or this guy's great, and all this stuff. I had to tell a couple of Eagles fans before this past game, take Daniel Jones's stats and put them next to Wentz's stats. They're basically the same guy. Yet you're going to tell me Jones sucks and Wentz is, he's franchise player. He's really great. No, their stats are almost identical. In fact, Jones's are slightly better. Now that's before week 4. Okay, so Wentz may have statistically improved himself over Daniel Jones over this past weekend, but that's beside the point. That this big discrepancy that people try to talk about between the two players is ridiculous. Also, if you ask a football fan, just, hey, tell me something. What do you think of the Giants defense? They'll be like, they haven't won a game. They suck. They're horrible, right? And I say, what do you think about the Dallas defense? Oh, my God, they're giving up yardage like crazy. They're horrible, too. But guess what? One's rated 5th. And one's rated, would you say, 29th?
Yeah, somewhere down in there.
You understand my point, though?
The
The discrepancy is ridiculous. And that doesn't say that the Giants defense is good.
How about 30th? There you go.
Right. 5th as opposed to 30th. That's not even remotely close. Okay, so people really need to dig a little bit deeper, or they need to watch more Ben and Barry so they can figure out what's good and what's not. You know what I mean? I can't even talk. The Giants defense is doing the best that they can with what they've got, and they don't have a lot of named players, but they are playing inspired defense. They just lack playmakers on offense. That's all.
They're actually 6th against the pass in terms of yards per game.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you look at their scores, I don't think anybody's actually blown them out yet. Maybe somebody.
Funny that you say that, because last week I was messing with you a little bit when I said something about this could being a get-right game for the Giants.
Yeah, man.
And I'm sitting there looking at the score, and the score is so close, and I'm thinking, ooh, maybe – it might be a little something there. I mean, because sometimes, if you lose, but you can see that improvement, you're moving in the right direction, kind of getting right. Maybe you didn't win the game and make everybody feel great. But, I was surprised that they kept it as close as they had for the time period that they did. So, it's showing up now statistically on a yardage basis. When we do the net point power rankings, we'll see how it shows up.
Yeah,
on a point basis.
Well, the Rams offense is pretty conservative too, so I get the feeling like they realized that their defense was far better than anything that the Giants could hope to be competitive against. And Goff only threw 32 passes, 200 yards, and 1 touchdown. So this was one of those games where you had an opponent where all you had to do was just enough to get by and get the win. Again, I'm sure they would have loved to have scored more, but the Giants defense played them pretty tough. It's just the Giants just can't get on the scoreboard. That's all,
They were giving Golden Tate a little bit of the business, man.
As they should, as they should. Golden Tate is not what they expected him to be. And the little bit that he showed them last year is basically gone at this point. I thought Darius Slayton was going to have a really big year, but they don't seem to be like really making a concerted effort to go to him. I would give him far more targets. Evan Ingram at least has been healthy, okay, but he's not as big a playmaker as we had hoped. And of course, Saquon's hurt. So Devontae Freeman looks like he's digging deep to knock off the rust and come back to his old skills. But that might be like game 8 by the time he really gets himself going. So offensively, they don't have a lot of firepower. And that's just the way it is. I'm just happy that the defensive side of the ball seems to be actually something to really love and to hope that they improve on, okay? Because that's going to be the start of the Giants becoming contenders again right there. I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope it happens soon, but at least I see a foundation with the defense.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. We got a couple more to go. We got the Patriots went to KC to play the Chiefs. I took the Patriots in this one. I lost. The bias had the Chiefs, which is probably, made sense, of course. However, I made my pick before Cam came down with COVID. If Cam plays in that game, I still like my chances for the Patriots to beat the Chiefs. However, he didn't play. They got smoked 26-10. Jared Stidham and Brian Hoyer together couldn't make Dwayne Haskins. These cats are not going to be able to do anything with that offense. Without Cam, the Patriots are toast. It's plain and simple. And it's not even so much, well, they play Kansas City. They're really good, so maybe they would do better. If Cam can't come back next week, maybe they'll do better against somebody else. Nah, not really. Kansas City didn't do anything really great that I saw.
They got D'd up a little bit.
Who?
Kansas City did.
Oh, yes. Again, the New England defense, and, as good as they are, even they're going to show some struggles when you have an offense that can't put any points on the board. They got 10. Kansas City, again, pretty conservative. No big deal. Didn't have to do anything special and just cruise through the game, got the win. Didn't require any big-time Mahomes magic or anything like that. So
I am going to take a look. I started this week, but I'm not prepared to go through it league-wide on this show. But I can't tell you how disappointed I was in the backup quarterbacks for the Patriots, much less my Niners, which we'll get to. I saw a congruence where, you got these, quote, great coaches. The backup quarterbacks that they're holding on to are so questionable that you're like, did you really think that you were going to compete if your starting quarterback went down with either of these two guys? I mean, Brian Hoyer looked horrendous. And I was a bit hopeful when Stidham came in because he was supposed to have been the starting guy before Cam got there.
That is correct.
What you were going to go into the season with.
We have all the confidence in the world in Jared Stidham. That's what he said.
That's what he said. And these guys came out and looked like Nick the Quick for the Niners. Eyes big as they, throwing in all types of mess.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I'm like, okay, next week, I want to be prepared to talk about the state of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And you and I have debated this situation because I think that the NFL underinvests in their backup quarterbacks. This came up as a big conversation with Nick Foles and when the Eagles. And I'm like, y'all need to just pay that guy to be the back quarterback, be your reliever, because Wentz is going to crap out at some point. And people are still wishing that he was there as a reliever. They're still thinking that some people even talking about him in Chicago. Like, okay, let's bring back Mitchell Trubisky as the starter, and we'll just bring in Nick Foles midway through the fourth quarter to close out games like they're in baseball.
Well, like I've been trying to tell people, that's when he's at his best. When he's under the pressure of playing a complete season, he has been unsuccessful every time, either through his play or through or the fact that he sustained some type of an injury. So, and in this game, he just was bad, or in that game, he was just bad. So
I took a quick look.
Now that you've announced it, we got to kind of actually do that now. So we'll have to.
Oh, so yeah. I took a quick look at the Madden ratings on the backup quarterbacks for about 6 teams, okay? Because, you know, Madden, again, very mathematical relative to the attributes of that particular player. The highest rating that I saw was 66. 66 for 6 different teams. So when you start bringing people off the bench, now you're not getting much. You don't have anyone who comes in, you know, you even probably the rookies probably have pretty low ratings, but a lot of these guys have been around a number of years, and it's why so many people have complained about Colin Kaepernick not having a starting job when they look at the mess that is the backup quarterback situation. So, yeah, we'll talk about that again next week. All right, moving right along.
Okay, moving right along. The Buffalo Bills, one of my favorite teams this year, went out to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. I got the win. The Bias got the win. The Bills got the win. It was 30-23. Josh Allen, the great Josh Allen, went 24 of 34 for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for a touchdown. He did sustain an injury to his shoulder in the first half that required him to go to the locker room for a little while, but he did come back out, and he played the rest of the game. It's his non-throwing arm, and it's believed to be minor, so that's a good thing because he's having one heck of a year. Devin Singletary ran the ball 18 times for 55 yards and a touchdown. And Stephon Diggs continues to thrive in the Bills' passing scheme. He had 6 catches, 415 yards. So this offense is really shaping up really well. The offensive line, pass blocks, and run blocks, both very well. And the only question was, how would Stephon Diggs adapt coming into a new team? And he seems to have adapted really, really well. And he and Josh have a great connection. So I'm loving them Bills. Now, I took an L on this one. The Eagles.
Who didn't take an L on that?
Versus the San Francisco 49ers. A whole heck of a lot of Eagles fans didn't take an L on this one. But that's because they're going to pick the Eagles to win week after week after week, no matter what. But they loved this one. Niners really let me down. 25-20. Ugh, unbelievable. Carson Wentz pulled out the victory, went 18 of 28 for only 193 yards. Plus, and he threw 1 TD pass. He also ran for another touchdown. So this is 3 games in a row that he's had a rushing touchdown. It's kind of glass half full, half empty. I mean, he's showing his versatility, and he's showing that he has a nose for the end zone. He quarterback sneaks for first downs and things like that. But by the same token, this is why he's had an injury-riddled career so far. Usually is because he's been running. I can't remember last time I seen him slide. He's always diving head first. He's like Brett Favre. It's crazy. Except Brett Favre was a far better physical specimen than Carson Wentz is. Maybe not to look at, but as far as staying healthy is concerned, no doubt about it. All the crazy stuff Favre did, he's never been as injured as this guy. In fact, Favre had an Iron Man record going for starting games. he never missed a game in his career, I don't think. Not a start that he was supposed to have. So
the thing about Favre, one thing, number one, about Wentz, I think it's really harder for tall guys to slide. I think they struggle with that a little bit.
come on, man.
Justin, not Joe Burrow is struggling to slide now a little bit. I just think if you're 6'6", it's a little bit harder. Russell Wilson at his height, about perfect. He can slide. He does all that kind of good stuff. I'm not saying that they can't learn it, shouldn't learn it. I just think it's a little harder, one. Two, relative to the Eagles, and this is where the net point power rankings sometimes will struggle when you have a situation like the way that we were able to win over the previous teams who were not that good. And then you have the matchup situation. So net point wise, we were definitely favored. That matchup at the line of scrimmage, our offensive line against their defensive line, we lost. My beloved Niners lost consistently. And I think a lot of that led to Nick Mullins' eyes getting big and just having a really almost a meltdown where they had to bring in C.J. Beathard. And again, if you're going to keep a Mullins and if you're going to keep a C.J. Beathard, I have to assume that you're a coach that thinks you can be somewhat competitive with these guys. And neither one of them showed it coming into that game. So we'll talk a little bit more about that.
We have to have that talk. We definitely have to have that talk.
We have to have that talk.
At this point, I'm so curious. I can't wait to look at the list of backup quarterbacks for every team in the league, because the ones that we're naming here are like total failures. And they're on supposedly really good teams with really great coaches. The two we just talked about, the Niners and the Patriots. I can't wait to look at the rest. You know what I mean? These guys are supposed to be the geniuses of this league, along with Andy Reid, and their backup quarterbacks are basically horrible. And it makes you wonder, about the brain trust and or what these NFL organizations actually value, or how they actually value backup quarterbacks. That's one great question. We're going to find out.
Last week when we were going over this game, I flippantly said,
I remember. Go ahead.
If the Eagles win by 1 point, they will become the Bias Plus Buster of the Week.
Give him a hand.
Oh, my goodness. A Bias Plus in their favor of 79, the highest of the week.
And when you said it, I was thinking to myself, there's the kiss of death. Way to go. Way to go, Mr. Niner fan.
Oh, man. Sometimes the truth comes out sometimes, man, and you just have to go with it, But, I mean, really, it's okay. It is what it is,
Okay.
I have to go with it. What can I tell you?
Real quick, I just want to say my man Jerick McKinnon had a pretty good day, considering that the Eagles' defensive line was pretty much dominating the Niners' offensive line on pass plays and run plays, but he still was able to eke out a touchdown on the ground and one through the air. So good job for Jerick McKinnon filling in for Mr. Mostert, and there's a good chance that Mostert will be back for week 5, hopefully.
Let's just throw out something good. The Ayuk hurdle.
Great play, magnificent play. Was on SportsCenter all day long the next day, and deservedly so. A great athletic move, man. And this kid, he's no slouch. This guy's a ball player. You guys were short on receivers, but if Kendrick Bourne continues to just stay consistent, because he's no slouch either, for real. And if he was pressed into being the number one guy over a couple weeks, I think he'd be able to pull it out. I like Kendrick Bourne. Ayuk showed that he deserves to be on the field. He should get plenty of snaps. Deebo Samuel's back. He hasn't even scratched the surface this year yet. And George Kittle didn't need to scratch the surface. As soon as he stepped back on the field, this guy's blowing people up, stiff arming, running cats over, dragging dudes. George Kittle is a beast. I love Darren Waller. I got to give Kelsey all the credit in the world. But George Kittle, he's something else, man. That boy's something else. And does it with a smile, always laughing. First down, his little first down joint is like, I love it, man. I love this guy. Great player.
George Kittle, the man, no doubt about it. Okay.
All right. Atlanta Falcons. This was an easy one for me. Bias got this one also. Atlanta Falcons go to Green Bay to play the Packers. They get smoked 30-16. Aaron Rodgers stayed red hot, 27 for 33, 327 yards, 4 touchdown passes. And people will be hard-pressed to name his receivers, okay? Devontae Adams goes down, and everybody's like, oh, my God, he's all they got. Lazard steps up. Lazard gets hurt. They go to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equanimous Brown, and fantasy alert tight end, Robert Tonyan.
Tonyan got a lot of hype on the TV.
My goodness, fantasy alert. And guess what? You can probably pick him up in any league you get in, CBS, ESPN, NFL, Yahoo. He's probably sitting there because the Packers are on a bye this week. Okay, so people that need to pick up people that they need to play this week, they're going to leave him there on the waiver wire. If you have a good team, if you're off to a good start in fantasy, grab this dude. Grab him. I'm telling you. Robert Tonyan. I think it's pronounced Tonyan. So anyway, great day for Aaron Rodgers. Another great day for Aaron Jones. Having a wonderful season. Got 71 yards on 15 carries and another 40 yards on 5 catches. And scored a touchdown. So good job by the Packers. Good job by my man Aaron. And we are done.
Oh, well done, sir. Well done. I will simply say about the Packers, they were playing the Falcons. And Aaron.
That's why I said it was an easy pick. That's why I said it was an easy pick for me.
Yeah, Aaron looked really, really great. However, the pockets that he had, the comfort that he had back there, you cannot give Aaron Rodgers that kind of comfort level in the pocket. Not with that arm talent. I mean, so it's we'll have to see when he's under a little more pressure if he can maintain that level. But he was looking real comfortable sitting back there, man, throwing that ball around. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, that wraps up the review portion of the show and leads us into the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings as of week 4. So we're going to summarize where everybody stands as of week 4. Let's start this out here with rankings 25 through 32. Okay, and now again, let's look through the columns. You have your ranking, your team. NP stands for net points. Team PF stands for points for. Team PA stands for points against. Team and our favorite, Todd, turnover differential and ranking. So that's how everything's set up. Going from top to bottom in 25th place net point wise, we're just going to go straight down. You have the Jaguars, followed by the Eagles, followed by the Lions, the Falcons, Washington, Texans, Giants, and Jets. Giants and Jets can't seem to get moving, and maybe it's the sticky field.
Okay. Is that going to be like a weekly joke?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
all right.
Points for 25th place, Chargers, Broncos. You got those rookie quarterbacks. Titans, a little low on the scoring there. Steelers, a little low on the scoring there. Texans, okay, we expect that. Washington, we expected. Jets,
Let's remember.
Giants,
I'm
kind of
sorry.
expected. But I'm a little surprised that the Steelers and the Titans are so low in the scoring column.
Let's remember. Those are the two teams that have missed a game.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. They had buys. And I decided to not go with the average because the bottom line is it might hurt them in terms of points for, but it helps them in terms of points against. So their net points is really where it's at here. So thank you for that. And neither one of these two teams are in the bottom third of net points. Points against. The bye, again, would help them. Cowboys in last place, both in points against, and if you go one column over, turnover differential, -7. So that's two more than the Eagles, who were pretty much claiming that spot for a few weeks there. So points against, 25th, Saints, Vikings, Browns, Texans, Lions, Jets, Falcons, and Cowboys. And turnover differential, you've got -4 in turnover differential for the Raiders, Vikings, Giants, and Chargers, -5 for the Eagles, Texans, and 6 for the Broncos. So that's the bottom end of the rankings there. Anything on that group there, Mr. Dickerson?
No, that pretty much tells the whole story right there. I mean, the Jets, I would say, are probably the worst team in the league. So they are where they belong. Cowboys defense has played horrendously. So they are where they are. I mean, the numbers are pretty accurate to me. Also, the Cowboys being last and tied, that's not Dak's fault. When you have to throw the ball as much as he does, you're going to throw a pick from time to time. And I don't think he's had multiple picks in any games yet. And they've also had some really bad fumbles. So, again, all praises to Dak. Shame on the Dallas Cowboys.
That's a great point that you make. I literally have a note of when I was watching the game that says it's so easy to throw an interception when you're trying to make a comeback with little time. So I literally had that in my notes this time, and so absolutely. Here we have 13 through 25, that middle group. Let's see if I can make that. Are you trying to see the screen there? I see you leaning forward a little bit.
No, I'm actually untying my sneaker.
Okay. So right there at the top of the middle, in 13th place, you do have your Patriots with +5 in the net points. The Bears with +4. The Saints, a little surprise, they were right there tied with the Bengals with net point 0. So what can I tell you? Browns -2, Panthers -3, tied with the Dolphins at -3. I love looking at these numbers because the strange bedfellows I always find humorous. So when I see the Panthers and the Dolphins at both -3 net, and you think, okay, how are these teams about the same? You know, it's very interesting. Raiders -9, Chargers -12, Broncos, Vikings -19 net points, followed by the Cowboys at -20 and the Jaguars at -22 in terms of net points. And as I always remind people, at any point in time, half of the teams in the league are in the minus. In terms of scoring, Vikings are in 13th place, tied with the Falcons at 106 points. Colts following them up at 103. Panthers, Bengals, Lions, all at 99 points scored. Cardinals at 98. Patriots, 97. Jaguars, 95. Dolphins, 93. Bears, Eagles, and Chargers in consecutive numbers, 85, 84, and 83. In terms of defense, Dolphins 13th, not bad. Just a step above the Giants at 14th. Matter of fact, they're tied with the Giants. Dolphins and Giants are tied. And that's going to be an interesting game. We're going to talk about my Niners having to play these Dolphins. I don't think that's no cakewalk here. Broncos, 98 in 15th place. Bengals in 16th place, right behind them. A step ahead of the Bills. I'm a little surprised that the Bills are here in 17th place. 1 point ahead of the Packers, who are 1 point ahead of the Panthers. Eagles are down there. We expect that. Look who else is down there. 21st place, the Seahawks. That's a problem. They're going to have to figure that out. Washington at 112. Jaguars 117, Raiders at 120, and Saints, another team who is too good to be 25th on defense. Saints at 25th. In terms of turnover differential, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, all with +1 from 13th place down to 18th. Bills, Lions, Rams, Patriots, Jets, and Niners. Bengals and Dolphins at 0. Breaking even there. And 21st through 25th, you have the Bears, two-way tie with Washington and the Jaguars. The Cardinals with -3. I had a question. I think last week we posed about Kyler and whether he might have been leaning a little too heavily on the run and whether people were going to kind of start to catch up with them a little bit. So his turnovers are going to have to improve. And look at that. 25th, Raiders with -4. Before we move on, anything on this group, middle group?
No, not really. I'm looking. So we're at the area now where we're close to the midpoint between the teams that are on the positive side of the ledger as far as net points is concerned and the teams on the negative side. And we see teams like the Browns, the Panthers, and the Dolphins that are kind of knocking on the door of plus land. And it's funny because you mentioned the contrast between the Panthers and the Dolphins. It's almost like they're the same team with different components, but coming out with this kind of the same strengths and weaknesses, so to speak. So you got Teddy, who's kind of bringing his career back, and he's playing well, not great, but pretty well. Seems to be doing better and better every week. And then you got Fitzgerald, who's been around. He's a journeyman, but has never been a weak quarterback.
You mean Fitzpatrick?
Yes, has been brought in several times to basically keep teams' offenses afloat. The guy obviously can play, okay? So you got a contrast there, but they're kind of getting the same results. You know what I mean? They both have decent running games, but not great, although Panthers' running game is a little bit better. Defensively, the Dolphins are playing much better than people expected, but they're still a liability. The Panthers' defense is playing really good pass defense, but their run defense is a liability. So when they fall behind in games, they're going to be hard-pressed to come back. But if they can get ahead, their chances of winning and Teddy leading them to a victory become greater. So I like the contrast between the two, and I shouldn't be using the word contrast because the teams are kind of similar with different players and for different reasons, but still kind of similar. I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. Like I said, it's a strange congruence when, you look at some of these teams on a net point basis and you start to see, where the neighborhood is, for that particular group. Let's go to the top 12 here. There you go. All right, here's your contender list as far as we're concerned, because most of the time the Super Bowl winner is going to come out of the top 12 at the very least, and generally out of the top 8. In number 1 place, the Green Bay Packers with +51 net points, followed by the Ravens at 49, the Chiefs, and the Colts tied at 47. The Niners bringing up 5th place. So when I did put out a top 5 on the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings Facebook page, and my Niners snuck right in there on it. Just out of the top 5, you have your Seahawks at plus 33, your Buccaneers 28, Rams 26, Bills 23. We're talking about net points here, plus Steelers plus 22. Then we take a kind of a steep drop off with the Titans and the Cardinals both at plus 6, rounding out your top 12. In terms of scoring, your number 1 team, your Green Bay Packers, putting up 152 points, followed by the Seahawks at 142, the Cowboys at 126, the Browns at 124. Last time the Browns been in the top 5 in scoring. And your Bills tied with your Saints right there at 5th and 6th. Ravens right behind them at 7th with 122. Buccaneers 120. Chiefs not in the lead, but hanging in there at 117. Raiders at 111. Niners at 107 and Rams at 106. So you see who your top scoring teams are in the league. Let's move over to points against. Here is your defense. Now, remember, we talked about defense helping out, or rather the bye helping out teams on defense. So you have your Colts with 55 points allowed, Steelers with 58 in 2nd place. Chiefs, 3rd with 70. I dare say, usually the Chiefs offense is rated higher than the defense. This is one of those few situations where that's not true. 49ers coming in 4th at 71. Ravens at 73. Titans 74 in 6th place. Rams 7th with 80 points allowed, followed by the Bears. You have a 3-way tie with 9 through 11 with the Buccaneers, the Patriots, and the Cardinals, and the Chargers finishing out 12 at 95 points. Moving over to turnover differential, in 1st place, surprisingly, your Browns at plus 6. Titans at plus 5, tied with the Chiefs. Again, Chiefs showing strength defensively and turnover differential. That's big time. Seahawks in 4th place with plus 5. Colts in 5th place with plus 4. Your Packers and your Ravens tied for 6th and 7th place with plus 3. Your Falcons, Saints, Steelers, Buccaneers, and Panthers all coming in with plus 2, rounding out your 8th through 12th place. I took a look, again, we talked about this last week, at those teams that are showing up in your top 12 offensively, but your bottom half to bottom 8th defensively. So you're looking at basically your Bills, your Packers, your Seahawks, Raiders, Saints, and Browns, and Cowboys, all ranking defensively from 17 to 32. These teams are all in your top 12 offensively. So the Cowboys aren't the only team that has a large spread between the amounts of points that they're scoring and the amounts of points that they're giving up. It affects them net point wise. You see the Cowboys coming in 24th with minus 20. So they're the poster boy for this. But that also means that you have a few teams who are in your top 12 offensively, and they're maintaining that level of performance defensively. I'm talking about your Ravens, your Chiefs, and your Niners are being 3 teams that are in the top 12, both on an offensive basis and on a defensive basis. So that rounds out that group. I'll turn that over to you. Anything else on this?
Only thing I'll say is that I like this top 12, but somebody's going to be coming out of there pretty soon and maybe overtaken. by one of those teams that we talked about that's just barely on the minus side of the net points. I believe that even though the Packers defense has let in a bunch of points, as well as the Seahawks defense, excuse me, the reason they're still high up on the net point rankings is because their offenses are just as explosive, if not more explosive, than their defenses are bad. I think sometimes when you have a team and you can obviously watch this team and say, wow, that's a good team, that's a playoff contender, and then they let in 28 points, you go, oh, wow, I don't know, maybe not. But their offenses are explosive enough. And also you got to remember, you got your situations where teams jump out to a big lead, and then the other team gets a lot of points in garbage time too, but really has no chance of winning. So teams like the Packers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, I'm going to skip the Colts and 49ers and go to the Seahawks. I think those teams are really dangerous against anybody, can score points on anybody, and they've proven it, and they will continue to do so as they tighten up their defenses. And we'll see them in the top 8 to 10 basically for the entire season.
When you said that about teams moving up, the team that stands out to me that with the best possibility for that is number 13, your Patriots, assuming that Cam comes back.
Right. And also you'll see the Saints were 0 on board. So they were right in the middle, not plus, not minus. That's another team that can make the jump.
All right. Well, if that's it, that wraps up the Sterling net point power rankings portion of the show. All right, Mr. Dickinson, we're going to get ready to kick off the Bias Plus reports for Week 5, 2020. These are the matchups that are based on the Sterling net point power rankings. And they utilize these rankings just quickly. What we do here is we look at the net points. We compare the net points for the two teams that are playing. The team with the greater net points has the bias in their favor. You notice we use the word bias because, hey, anything can happen. But we understand the concept of bias, and we sort of lean toward thinking that that team should be favored relative to being able to win. And then we add into that turnover differential, which is the plus in the bias plus, again, comparing the two teams and their turnover differentials, which goes to the team with the greater turnover differential. We then combine those numbers for a score called the bias plus. So the first matchup of the week will be tonight. It will be Buccaneers at Bears. Bias plus score of 27 favors Buccaneers. Tom Brady and the boys going into Chicago. Tom Brady ain't afraid of no cold weather. I don't know if it's how cold it is in Chicago now, but you know, Chicago gets cold quick. Don't take long.
Yeah, Tom Brady has proven time and time again that weather means nothing to him. He's not one of these soft West Coast dudes. He's weatherproof. He played in New England. He played in snow. The Tuck Rule game was in horrible snow. Huge game that took them to the Super Bowl. Yeah, he's not affected by the weather at all. I don't think that the Bears. Number one, Tom Brady's starting to get hot. He's starting to get hot. I heard someone say, this is something to think about. I heard someone say that this past game they just played, where he threw 5 touchdown passes, seemed more like a Tom Brady game plan than a Bruce Arians game plan. So, you know, Mr. No Risk It, No Biscuit is starting to tone himself down a little bit. I think he's starting to listen to Mr. Brady, and I think their collaboration is only going to get better and better. That being said, that spells doom for the Bears this weekend, who can't decide if they should bring Trubisky back. Is Foles the truth or not? Is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to be as inaccurate as he was last week? Take the Bucs.
I saw someone get gronked last week for the first time this season.
Get gronked?
Yeah, Gronk showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Gronk really, take advantage of nobody with that size and everything so far this season, but it happened last week.
Yeah, he hasn't been his usual self though. I was thinking he was going to come back really strong after being out of football for a couple of years and allowing his body to rejuvenate itself. I was expecting some Kittle-like plays at least from time to time, and this week was the first time we even saw a glimpse of that. So I'm not sure he's all the way back.
Well, he had to go through his preseason, and he's been out a little bit. So okay, but if he stays healthy, he could be formidable coming down the season as he gets further into football shape. All right, Panthers at Falcons. Bias plus score 29 favors the Panthers over those stinky Falcons. Falcons coming in at 28th net points with minus 32. Panthers 18th with minus 3. So you can see why the Panthers are favored. They both have the same in terms of net points. So turnover differential at +2.
Yeah, this game could end up being a shootout because you never know how the Falcons are going to be offensively with Matty Ice. Julio is injured. Calvin Ridley is not 100%, I don't think. Russell Gage, who's like their number 3 receiver, is coming back off of an injury, but he should be okay for this week. But there's still a question about Julio. Oh, real fast. There was a rumor. I don't know how far-fetched this rumor is. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but there was a rumor that the Patriots are trying to build up a case to make a trade with the Falcons for Julio Jones. So just keep that one under your hat there. Again, I'm not sure if it came from a good source or not, but it sounds like a Patriots-type move. So keep your eyes out for that. As far as the game is concerned, I'm going to go with the Panthers on this one. I think Teddy is showing signs of life and being the kind of quarterback that I hoped he would be when he got his own team. And the Falcons, by the same token, have basically no defense to speak of. So Teddy can game manage his way through this one. Shouldn't be a problem.
Your point is well taken. I've actually heard some discussion on the airways about blowing up this Falcons team. Especially, I believe, contractually, they might be so tied into their quarterback, cap-wise, et cetera, and then with a few injuries, they found themselves really in a hole. So you might have something there. All right, let's see what we have next up here. Oh man. Bengals at Ravens. Bias plus score 52 favors the Ravens. Joe Burrow, what you going to do, man? Joe Burrow said, he said when he watches tape, he has to be careful because he gets so caught up in looking at Lamar.
Yeah, that's the fan coming out of him. You know what I mean? You got to be a Lamar fan. Who's not a Lamar Jackson fan? That's crazy. Like,
No,
even people that don't know football are like, who's that guy? You know, I want to watch that guy. So you got to be a Ravens fan, yeah. But they don't stand a chance in this game. I'm sorry, I take that back. I've been impressed with Joe Burrow. I will continue to be impressed with Joe Burrow until he throws up a stinker, which he has not done yet. Okay. I think Cincinnati is kind of feeling themselves a little bit, and they're going to go into Baltimore, and they're going to do their best to make this a competitive game. Hopefully, it will be competitive, but I do not see them being able to come out with the win. So, obviously, I'm picking the Ravens.
picking the Ravens. Yeah, let's not get crazy here. Let's not get crazy. All right. You got the Ravens.
I said that last week when you played the Eagles too.
Okay. Okay.
I get my digs in when I can.
Get your digs in. Get your digs in. That's okay. Jaguars at Texans. Bias plus score of 3. I do believe this is the smallest bias plus score of the weekend, favoring the Jaguars. Texans coming in. Romeo coming in as the new coach. This bias plus score, again, both teams in the negative in terms of net points. Jaguars being just much less negative on both the net point and on the turnover differential, with the Texans being -5, Jaguars being -2. Jaguars at Texans. What do you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I gotta pull out my phone on this one to check something real quick. I'll tell you what. Neither defense is very good. Hey, you can help me out real quick. Where do these two teams rank in points against, according to our precious net point power rankings?
The Bengals rank 16th.
No, not the Bengals.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about the Jaguars. We're back at that game. Okay. Jaguars rank 23rd. Texans rank 28th.
Wow. Okay. On that alone, I'm taking the Jaguars. How about that? On that alone, I'm taking the Jaguars.
Taking the Jaguars. Yep. Good move. Good move. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense, you know. You get these situations like this, and, you know, we just don't know what to expect out of the Texans at this particular point. We know, you know, Deshaun is Deshaun. You know, Deshaun versus Minshew, but Minshew is playing better. He's efficient. You know, he gets the job done a little bit better. So, all right, there we go. Let's see what we have up next here. Okay, man. Let me tell you, this is a game that I kind of want it to be the intriguing game of the week, but I don't know if the Chiefs are going to play along and leave any intrigue. Bias plus score 65 favors the Chiefs. The Raiders are going into Kansas City and playing the team with the number 3 defense in the league, and they're also ranked 3rd in turnover differential. So the Raiders, who are 20th in net points at -9, they're not far off in terms offensively. They are ranked 10th. They've scored 111 points. The Chiefs are ranked 9th. They've scored 117. So the biggest differential is on defense, where the Raiders are ranked 24th and the Chiefs are ranked 3rd. So ergo, bias plus favors the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's what gives us that big fat 65 point bias, and that's major. If this game had been a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I'd have thought maybe it could be an intriguing game. But now that we're going into week 5, and the Raiders have shown a lot of chinks in their armor on defense, the high-flying offense is kind of coming down a little bit. It's hard when your defense is on the field most of the time and you can't get out there because they're getting run up and down the field. And I think that's what's going to happen in this particular game. So I would have to go with the Chiefs.
All right, sticking with the bias there. Not bad, not bad. What do we got here? Okay. Next up, Cardinals at Jets. Bias plus score 68, the largest bias of the weekend, favoring the Cardinals. Yeah, when the Jets are bad, they're bad. You know what I mean? The Cardinals are 12th with +6 in net points. The Jets are 32nd with -66. I'm not even going to go into the rest of it for right now because, I mean, they're well, let me say this much. The Jets are at least in the plus in terms of turnover differential at +1. Cardinals are -3. What are you going to do, Kyler?
The Jets' only chance is to hope that they get a couple of scooping scores and maybe pick one off and take it all the way back. Because if they don't do that, they're not going to win this game. Let's face it. Any position players, any skill players that you have on the Cardinals, on your fantasy teams, make sure you play them because there's a real good chance they'll have a good day. Unless you have a better option, if you have Kyler Murray as your quarterback, you should probably play him. He'll probably score through the air and on the ground. What the heck? He might pitch it to somebody and run a pass route and catch a touchdown. The Jets are bad. They're really, really bad. And the Cardinals aren't great, but this is an easy one. Take the Cardinals in this game, please.
Take my Cardinals, please. All right. Can't be mad at that. All right. Eagles at Steelers, the battle for Pennsylvania. Bias plus score 52 favors guess who? Steelers. All right. Now I know what you can't be going against the bias here, Betty. Come on.
What's the bias? I'm sorry.
Bias is 52 favoring the Steelers.
52, huh? Why would I go against that? First of all, Steelers missed the game because the Titans have a COVID outbreak. So that was the game that they were supposed to play. So that game's been moved, and they've essentially taken their bye in week 4. So now it's week 5. So they're coming off a bye, okay? They've had extra time to rest, extra time to practice. And as far as I know, to this moment, they have no COVID diagnosis. So they're ready for this game. And the Eagles, although they played better last week, are still not a dynamic team in any sense of the word. So I'm going with the Steelers on this one. Again, this is another easy one. I'm starting to think week 5 is not going to be that entertaining, man. These are easy picks if you ask me.
Well, they might be easy picks, but the games could be fun, you know.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. I mean, let's face it. I love NFL football. The games are going to be fun. Either is somebody's getting killed or two stinky teams are playing it close. The games are going to be fun. But as far as picking these winners, this is a piece of cake right now. I might break my record at 73%.
Oh, listen to him.
I know I'm Brandon. That's the kiss of death for me.
Did you knock on wood just now when you said that?
Now it's going to be upsets all over the place now.
Well, this is a game that could be one of my intriguing games of the week. Bills at Titans. Bias plus score of 13. Not big at all. Favoring your Bills. Oh, man. We haven't heard a lot out of the Titans run game. The Titans are coming into this game ranked 11th in net points. Bills are ranked 9th. Titans are ranked 27th in scoring, however. Bills are ranked 5th. Bills are ranked 17th defensively. Titans are ranked 6th. So Titans have that defensive edge. Bills have that offensive edge. Small bias. You take 13 and divide that by the 4 games that this was built on. That's about 3, average of 3 per game, a little more than that. So it's going to be tight. 2 different styles. What do you got on this one?
Lest we forget, the Titans have only played 3 games.
Yes.
So that's take that into consideration.
So
However,
wise, that would go against the Titans. If you look at the 80 points that they scored divided by 4, that's 20. The Bills put up 123 over those 4. That's 30. So even on an average basis, no, wait, I'm sorry. Titans, that 80 would have to be divided by 3.
Right.
Okay, so that's a little under 30. 390 would be 30. So you're a little under 30. Your Bills are a little over 30, a little closer than what we might think then on a point scored basis.
Again, Ryan Tannehill is going to have to pick up where he left off as far as having another really nice season for himself. Their main receiver, A.J. Brown, has been hurt. He may be coming back this week. Derrick Henry has not made as much noise as anybody's expected him to, and the Bills' run defense is pretty good. So if Derrick Henry is the key to the Titans winning, and even though Tannehill's playing well, Derrick Henry is the key to the Titans winning, and the Bills are able to slow him down as he has been slowed down before already this season, then I believe that the Bills will win this game. However, the Bills' Jekyll and Hyde sometime defense could maybe allow him to get off a little bit. They could allow Tannehill to make some plays and make this game a little tougher than it should be. So I'm picking the Bills because, as far as I'm concerned, they are, without question, the better team. Again, home field has nothing to do with anything. The Titans could make this a tight one, but I got to go with the Bills. There's no doubt in my mind that the Bills are just flat out the better team. Better team doesn't always win, but I'm going with the better team.
Makes sense going with the Bills. And I had no doubt that you were going to do that. Rams, Washington, Bias Plus score 62 favors the Rams. Washington's coming in with a backup quarterback. Rams are coming east for 1 o'clock. Wait a minute. At Washington, yeah. Okay, so they're coming in for a 1 o'clock game. What do you got?
That might slow them down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because they've been playing pretty conservatively anyway. Washington has nothing to offer them as far as defense is concerned. Their quarterback situation is real shaky right now. Who's the backup? I forgot. They're not going to play Alex Smith.
No, they're not going to play Alex Smith. I'll give that to you.
Going with
I
want to say Colt McCoy. Is he still around?
That would be a no. Let me take a quick look here because we should have that. They just named him.
Anyway, whoever the heck he is, he's not going to be able to get the job done. Let's go with the Rams. Jared Goff is having a solid season, if not spectacular. He's been spectacular here and there, but for the most part, again, the Rams seem to be kind of switching their focus from passing to the ground game, and the ground game has been very successful. So this might not be a great game to watch, but there's no doubt that the Rams should come out victorious in this one.
Yeah, I don't really doubt that either in terms of that. And then also, is their number one draft pick, Chase, is he still hurt?
He had a groin injury. I'm not sure if he played this past weekend, but I don't think it was serious. I think it's considered basically a minor injury. He should be back.
Okay. So he'll be back, but he won't be here for this particular game.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's only Wednesday. It's only Thursday. So if he didn't practice yesterday and he gets in a limited practice today and a full practice Friday, he will play. If he gets in limited today and Friday, he might play, and there's a good chance that he'll play.
Your quarterback, Kyle Allen.
Oh, Kyle Allen. He was the backup that took over for the Panthers last year. Had a few good games. The guy is capable. He is capable. He's better than Haskins, put it that way.
It looks like in 2019 he played 13 games for the Panthers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
He played fairly well for a while, but his last 3-4 games were pretty bad. I mean, they pretty much went in the tank.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's, we promised it and we delivered. All right. Who's up next here? This is fun. I love this. Oh my God. I was having fun. Now, I don't know. Dolphins at Niners. Bias plus score 40 favors the Niners. Garoppolo might be back this week.
Yes, that is true. In fact, I believe the word was expected back this week.
Really?
Yes.
Well, Bias Plus favors the Niners at 40. If Garoppolo was back, I feel a lot more comfortable. However, those Dolphins, man, they come to play, man. They gave Seattle a little bit of run. Now they want to come mess around with my Niners. You can't look past them guys, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, man. This is a tough one for me, believe it or not. After that debacle you guys put up last week, I'm going to say this. If Garoppolo plays, I like you guys to win. And it's not like he's Aaron Rodgers or anything coming back. Oh, he's back. We're good. But Mullen doesn't have a chance. And C.J. Beathard can't get it done either. Miami does not stink. They are extremely competitive. They have playmakers, and they fly all over the field on defense. This is a real tough one for you. I almost don't want to call this game until I find out if Garoppolo is cool. I'll tell you the truth, man. This one's scary for me. Hate to say it. Jeez, I don't know how to call this one. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to my phone real fast. Okay, this says questionable ankle, limited practice on Wednesday. Questionable for Week 5 versus Miami. You heard it from me here first. He will play, and they will win. Take the Niners.
All right.
That's all I needed.
They're going to play that game. They're going to leave him as questionable to the very last minute.
Probably.
So they like to play that.
He'll probably go limited practice again today, and then on Friday, if he goes limited practice again, they're going to say game time decision. If he has a full practice, he's the starter. That's all fantasy lingo. That's how you figure out. Everything means something else.
All right. Going with the Niners here. Patriots are going to host the Broncos. Bias plus score 28 favors the Patriots. Are they going to play? I guess they're going to play. I don't think that I did take some notes about some of the stuff that's going on here, but assuming that the Patriots are going to play, their positive tests aren't going to keep them from playing. If not, this might get moved.
How many more positive tests did they have besides Cam?
Top defensive player.
Oh, right, the corner. Oh my goodness, yes. So if they got those two guys isolated and everybody else comes up positive, I'm sure they'll play.
You mean negative?
The question is.
You mean negative?
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, if the rest of the team tests negative and they have those two guys isolated, they'll play the game. It won't be a problem. The real question is, and we didn't bring it up at the time we talked about the game, but the question is, will the Bills-Titans game go off? The Titans got guys popping up positive all over the place.
You're absolutely right. And the Titans are now being looked at because apparently their skilled players decided to have an off-campus practice session.
My goodness, they practice at some high school field, okay, which is either against NFL rules or against the players' union rules or something, but it was definitely something that they probably shouldn't have done. And now they got COVID guys popping up. They had one today. They had a brand new positive test today. They've already had a game postponed, which means they used their bye week last week. There's talk of, and they're using the Titans as an example, but there's talk of a team having so many positive tests that before they cancel or postpone another game for them, that they may have them forfeit a game. So they're the top candidates for having that done if they don't figure something out. And believe me, I'm not talking bad about them. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's spreading through their team the way that it is, but it is. And the NFL can't afford to have one team wreck the entire season. Now, if somebody else has an epidemic like this, okay, well, we might have to talk about that. But right now, you can't cancel another game for them. They might have to turn in a forfeit.
The NFL players need to consider themselves in quarantine. One of the why am I having a problem remembering what's the defensive player for the Patriots? Stephon Gilmore, is it?
Yes.
Had dinner with Cam Newton.
Yes. Before he was diagnosed, though, right?
Huh?
This is before he was diagnosed.
Before he was diagnosed, yes. But they both came up positive. And it reminds me of, as I remember watching NBA, those guys being in the bubble, those guys being tested on a daily basis, and pretty much 100% negative tests, but still following mask protocols.
Yes.
They are being so careful.
Yes.
The NFL not having a bubble, these players have to consider themselves in quarantine when they're not playing.
It's a lot easier to do in the bubble.
There's now talk that maybe once the playoffs hit, that there could be a NFL bubble for the playoffs.
And I think that would be a good idea. I think that would be an excellent idea, and one that should be quite doable. But as far as handling the protocols and stuff like that, it's a lot easier to do in the bubble because everybody's together. The chances of them contracting it from an outside person are slim to none. It's when you're in the bubble, it's more of a we're all in this together type of atmosphere. So getting guys to wear masks, even though everybody is still is testing negative, it's almost like we're all one big team. We're all on different teams, but when it comes to COVID, we're all one big team. We're in the same hotels. We're in the bubble. We're eating the same food type thing. So it's a lot easier. These NFL guys, they get to go home. Uncle Joey comes over to cook out in the backyard on your off day. You don't know where Uncle Joey's been. Guys are still going to the stores, doing shopping. They're living normal lives. So the question for them is, how careful are you being? You got to be careful. I mean, that's it. I don't know what else to tell you. You know what I mean? Stephon Gilmore, I don't know when he had that dinner, but if it was before Cam was diagnosed, then there's a good chance that he came back to practice and was in defensive huddles and was talking to teammates and was in the locker room, yucking it up with guys. You know what I mean? So somebody else on the Patriots could come up positive within the next day or two. It's a possibility. And then it's here we go again.
Here we go again. Even Patrick Mahomes, who congratulated Gilmore, went over to just, give him a pound or whatever at the end of the game, is now.
Yeah, they were in each other's faces. They were this close.
Let it down a little bit. Let his caution down a little bit. So, all right. Well, we'll see how that turns out. Colts at Browns. This is the leader, as far as I'm concerned, for the intriguing game of the week. Bias plus score 47 favors the Colts. I mean, we know the Browns are starting to feel themselves a little bit now. They're starting to find themselves a little bit offensively. The Colts have that top defense, man. I mean, you're talking about the number one defense, only giving up 56 points. The Browns are the 27th defense. They've given up 126. They do still have a bit of the skew from the Ravens game. But the Browns are first in turnover differential. Colts are fifth. Browns are 17th in scoring. Colts are fourth. So right now it's favoring the Colts. Who you got?
Tell me something. You quoted the what place they were in turnover differential. Well, what is the Colts' actual number? Is it a minus number?
Turnover differential?
Yes.
No, it's +4. Browns are +6.
There you go. Okay. Plus, plus, plus. What's going to spell doom for the Browns is they're coming up against a team that's really good at what their strength is, and that's the run game. And the Colts defense is really good against the run. So you're taking away something that the Browns have been leaning on quite a bit, and you're going to make Baker Mayfield beat you, the guy that can barely break 200 yards passing or hasn't had to try to break 200 yards passing because of game script. But nonetheless, the game script is going to be changed because the Colts' run defense is so good. Also, the thing about this game also that will probably make it kind of close anyway is because the Colts are really conservative on offense. But they should be able to do whatever it is that they want to do with their offense. Their defense shuts down the Browns' run game. You leave it up to Baker. We could even see those turnover differential numbers change like this. They're here, and after this game, the Colts are here and the Browns are here. So that's the kind of pressure I expect Mayfield to be under to lead his team to any chance of a victory. So I'm taking the Colts.
Going with the Colts makes sense to me. All right. Next up. You ready?
Bias on every game. This is horrible. This has got to change. Oh, this might be changing.
Giants at Cowboys. Bias plus score 26 favors the Cowboys. This is one of those games where both teams were in the negative in terms of net points. Cowboys just being less negative at -20 versus the Giants at -49. Both teams are also in the negative in turnover differential. Cowboys being a bit ahead at -7. Giants at -4. But in terms of defense, Giants are 14th. Cowboys are 32nd.
That would be last. Okay, folks, this is the one. I'm picking the Giants to upset the Cowboys, which is going to actually upset everybody in the NFC East if they pull this off. I think they can do it. I think their defense is good enough to give the Cowboys some trouble. I think their offense is good enough. I think the Cowboys defense is bad enough to allow the Giants to actually move the ball and get themselves in scoring position. It may take 3 or 4 field goals. It may take somebody breaking out. Slayton's got to break out. Ingram, Devontae Freeman. But if somebody has a breakout game offensively for the Giants, I think their defense is good enough that they can pull this off. This will probably be the game. I'm going to tell you how this game is going to go.
Uh-oh.
This will be the game where the Cowboys come out fast. They're going to score first. They're going to look great. And then the Giants are going to come back on them. And it's going to be punch, counter punch, punch, counter punch. And the Giants pull it out at the end. Boom. No big comeback, no garbage time, none of that other stuff that Dak's been living off of. This is going to be an ugly game for Dak.
Wow. Okay. Now that would be going against what the Cowboys have been doing. So instead of coming out slow, you're saying they're going to come out fast.
Right, which is going to actually work against them.
Okay.
You asked me, could the Cowboys come back? I think you meant to say, can the Giants come back?
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
To come back if the Cowboys come out fast.
Yeah, you meant the Giants. Okay. When I say the Cowboys are going to come out fast, I mean they're going to look good early, and they may score first and or go up by a touchdown and a field goal or 2 touchdowns early. So it won't be so much that the Giants have to go into comeback mode, so to speak. I just think that they will be able to make the score close and they will win it at the end. There won't be any major deficit in the score where one team or the other has to mount a big comeback. This could be a field goal game, which I don't think is going to be good for the Cowboys. I don't know.
How's your onside kicker? Does your onside kicker have any special skills or?
I don't know. I don't know if he has any special skills or not, but it may not come down to an onside kick. I hope it doesn't come down to an onside kick. I hope they beat them in regulation with a field goal and say, "Get the heck out of here. Let's go home."
All right. Well, they're hosting them, so they have the you ready? The sticky field advantage.
Oh, Lord.
All right, Benny. Vikings coming to visit the Seahawks. Bias plus score 61 favors the Seahawks. Yes. Vikings at 23rd, minus 19 net points. Seahawks 6 at plus 33. Seahawks second in offense. Vikings 13th. Vikings 26th defensively. Seahawks 21st defensively. So it looks like a close battle defensively, capability-wise. However, Russell Wilson at the helm versus Kirk. Give me a guaranteed salary Cousins. Who you got?
You're never going to let him live that down.
No.
Jeez. Well, you're rough, man. But yeah, I don't know. This might be a candidate for intriguing game. And I'll tell you why. I think Kirk Cousins, who has a new toy now, just when we were starting to think him and Thielen are not going to be able to do this on their own. And Dalvin Cook, first of all, has looked defense proof. Good defense and bad defense doesn't matter. Stack against the run, 8 men in the box, doesn't matter. Dalvin Cook is killing it right now, and he's going to get a nice new fat contract when this season is over. People were worried about him holding out, but he bet against himself. He said, okay, you don't want to negotiate? Fine. We'll let the season play out. We'll go back to the table. He's crushing it on the ground, crushing it. Kirk Cousins is not crushing it through the air, but he does have a new toy in Justin Jefferson, who's had 2 really good games so far and has proven himself to be more than expected as far as being a rookie wide receiver is concerned. You take that and you couple it with some of the problems that the Seahawks have been having on defense, and they're not terrible on defense. They make plays. What's their turnover differential? Seahawks, you got that right there?
Seahawks ranked 4th with +5.
Okay, so that means
ranked 26 with -4.
Good. So they're taking the ball away, and obviously they're very careful with it on offense. But if they're plus, then that means they got a good number of takeaways. So I still like the Seahawks defense better than the Vikings defense. I think that if Russell were to have a down game, which he has not done, nor has he shown any propensity to do, the Seahawks should win this game with no problem. It could be high scoring. It'll probably be a fun game to watch. If you haven't had a chance to really watch Dalvin Cook work, this is one of those good games to watch that. But I'm pretty sure you've seen plenty of highlights of Russell Wilson, and I expect to see the same on Sunday. I am taking the Seahawks.
Going with the Seahawks makes sense. All right, we're about to wrap this puppy up. That was Sunday night's game, so we'll get a chance to see that game in its full detail. I love watching full games now. It's just so much fun to see all of the little things. Monday night, Chargers at Saints. Bias plus score of 18 favors the Saints. So what you have here is you have a Chargers team that's coming in 21st in net points with -12, and the Saints team that's coming in at 15. As we said, their net point is 0. They're breaking even in terms of net points. They've scored 123. They've given up 123. On the offensive side, that number has put them in 6th place, but on the defensive side, it put them at 25th place. Whereas the Chargers are in 12th place defensively, only giving up 95 points. Their challenge is that 25th ranking that they have offensively. So the biggest difference is the 6th place in offense that the Saints have versus the 25th place that the Chargers have. Game manager versus game manager.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. But we know one. Well, it's funny because you automatically say Breeze is the master there. But Rivers, that seems to be where he's,
No, it's not Rivers, bro. It's Herbert.
Oh,
I know. Rivers was there forever.
Rivers was there forever, and I still, but he's going up against a rookie.
The kid is
rookie. I like Herbert, man. I like Herbert.
The kid has looked good. First of all, he didn't seem nervous at all his first game. I mean, to have the coach walk up to you and say, during warm-ups, dude, you're starting. Tyrod can't go. And for him to trot out there and not show any fear or any nervousness that I could see and have a decent game is fantastic. And then you figure, okay, now here's your first official start where you actually practice during the week with the number 1 unit and to come in and play well again and throw the ball well, look good in the pocket. He's able to move. He can run a little bit. He's a tall guy that knows how to slide. You know what I mean? I love Justin Herbert. I think, in fact, I have gone with the bias on almost every game except for one, just because of that. I'm taking my man Herbert to beat the Saints. I'm taking the Chargers.
Well, something, it's funny. The Chargers played good defense against the Chiefs. And you got a quarterback there there's no question about his arm.
It's correct.
Saints have a quarterback where there is a question about his arm.
Or at least
their
offensive game script has shown that the long ball is not a big part of their offense, if at all.
If at all.
When you got a team like that, it's a little easier to game plan for them. Now, remember, Mike Thomas may be coming back this week. I think he had a limited practice yesterday. So that's going to make a big difference. But they're still not going to go from a short yardage, intermediate type team to a long ball team just because Mike Thomas is back. He makes his yards on intermediate catches and, going over the middle and comebacks and little curl routes and stuff like that. So, again, with the Chargers playing the Chiefs, who are much more diverse on offense and playing them so well, they could give Breeze and them some trouble. Of course, the X factor for the Saints is Kamara. You got to be able to stop Kamara. So whether they throw it to him, hand it to him, kick it to him, it doesn't matter. He's going to be a handful for them. So, I definitely understand if the Saints win this game, I ain't going to be mad. But I believe the Chargers had the formula to win this game, and I'm going to pick the Chargers.
All righty. Well, that wraps up the Bias Plus reports. This is October 8th. That is for week 5 in the NFL's 2020 season. Yes. All right, Benny. So you only went against the bias twice.
Yes, that I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah. And you went homer on me with the Giants, which, okay, I can understand that. Makes sense.
Why not?
The other, you went rogue, picking the rookie over the veteran.
Over the veteran that I'm always going at you about. I'm always defending him. So,
sure.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, that wraps up the Bias Plus reports for week 5. Okay, so we're going to go move into any commentary. Let's just take a quick look at our page and see if there's anything in here that we want to talk about. All right, so what do we have here? Article, why do the Falcons keep blowing big leads? It's more than a meme. You have any theories on that?
They need to fire the coach.
All right, all right. Well, the Texans already did that. You have any comments on that? We already kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, he fired himself, basically.
We know Cam came up positive. And all right, so it's not a whole bunch happening that we haven't already really kind of covered relative to our social media on Facebook. We are on Facebook with Ben and Barry on football. We're on Facebook with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. We are on Instagram with Ben and Barry on football. We are on Twitter with both Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and Ben and Barry on football. And if you go to www.benandbarryonfootball.com, you will wind up at our YouTube page where we have all of our videos. Everything is there. So again, wrapping up this segment, any last words?
No, let's get on to the commentary. I came up with something.
All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, let's go with it. You got it. I have nothing.
Oh, okay. Cool. So all I have is my top 3 NFL MVP candidates. Now, okay, it's no breaking news. It's no hot topics or anything like that. But I just want to make my case for each of these guys, and I'm not going to use like a lot of numbers and statistics and all that stuff. Just the eye test coupled with the proficiency of each of their teams, okay? Number 1, I got to go with Russell Wilson. First of all, they have the most explosive offense, not necessarily the highest scoring, but they have the most explosive offense in the NFL up to this point, and we are 1/4 of the way through the season. Russell Wilson has shown himself to be a master at being a leader, being the kind of guy who can get the big first down, either with a laser throw or running for it and sliding. He slides so well, the guys don't even like dive over him or touch him. I mean, they touch him, touch him down, but he never is in any jeopardy, it looks like, when he slides or runs out of bounds. They have 2 really dynamic pass catchers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And Chris Carson, although his running style lends to him being beat up a bit, if he can just stay healthy and stay on the field, he's shown that he can play through bumps and bruises, okay? So the run game is intact. The passing game is intact. The only thing that can hold them back from going deep into the playoffs and possibly making a Super Bowl run is their defense, and I believe that their defense can be improved. So Russell Wilson overall is my number 1 candidate to win the MVP. My number 2 candidate is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is really playing out of his mind right now. I can't, you know what? I take that back. I do that a lot, don't I? I take that back. Aaron Rodgers is not playing out of his mind because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's playing as well as people had hoped he would, but didn't expect him to, okay? With all the injuries they've had, and especially with Devontae Adams going down, which I hope he's back this week, he has been able, and I named some guys earlier in the video, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equanimous Brown, Robert Tonyan, Lazard was coming on, but Lazard had showed some promise last year, but now he's out with an injury. these guys, he's making these guys into household names. They were no names. Now they're household names. And Aaron Jones is having probably his best year ever. So all that contributes, along with the Packers defense, which is not great. They've given up some points. I don't know where they are in the turnover margin, but I believe that they're pretty economical with that, and they've gotten their share. So, yes, Aaron Rodgers is my number 2 candidate, and the Packers are playing well. My number 3 candidate is Josh Allen. I predicted that Josh Allen would improve from the 2019 season. He has. I predicted that he would become more accurate and throw the long ball better. He has. Well, it wasn't really a prediction, but I expected him to continue to give teams fits on the ground. He has continued to do that. Took on a brand new receiver in Stephon Diggs. For a guy who had accuracy issues to take on a great route runner like Stephon Diggs, I thought maybe there could be some friction there, but it hasn't happened. They've obviously worked together. They seem to be on the same page. Everything is kind of clicking for them on offense. And again, the difference between the Bills, some of these other teams that are playing well on offense, but not real good on defense, is that the Bills' offensive line is proficient at run blocking and pass blocking. Some of these teams are really good on the ground, like the Browns, but their pass blocking leaves a little bit to be desired. Some of these teams are really good. Well, I can't say the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are good at both too, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. So that gives Josh an advantage. Now, their defense has not been as good as I expected them to be, but they're still upper echelon, so that makes them as a team very dangerous. Don't be surprised if some way, somehow, Josh Allen makes it to at least third in the MVP voting and possibly even higher. That's it. That's all I got.
Big on Josh Allen. All right. That's your man. No doubt about it. I know you're rooting for him big time. All right. There you go. All the commentary that you need to have for week 5 in the NFL 2020 season. Any final words?
Go Knowles.